Heyo, I'm Thalion, a Homestuck Newbie. In this video, I'm going to be taking the extended Zodiac quiz, which should tell me my troll blood color, my aspect, and my moon orientation, if I understand it correctly. I don't think it tells me my class, which is a little odd, but let's see. So there are 288 combinations based on those three elements, so this should tell me what my true troll sign is. So let's go ahead and we'll just begin. So the extended Zodiac expands on the meaning of your traditional Zodiac sign by determining your true sign. First, select your birth sign according to the traditional Zodiac, or you can pick the sign who you most closely identify with. Sure, I will just go with Scorpio. I'm a Scorpio. I'm all up in that Vriska nonsense just by birth, so we might as well go with that. You selected the blue sign class. That means your true sign is one of the signs below. Well, hello, they all look lovely. Blue signs are powerful, effective, and potentially incredibly destructive. Yeah, no, that's me. Definitely destructive. Magnetic and hypnotic, they tend to have many friends, but only an elite few are close. Get one on your side and you have a valuable ally. I'm valuable, guys. I'm valuable. Now you need to determine your lunar sway. This test tells you whether you're a Prospit or a Derse Dreamer. Either one says something about the perspective on life and the world around you. Finding out your lunar sway is one of the two critical pieces of information needed to determine your true sign. For each question below, choose the answer that most closely reflects your perspective. Okay, so now we're getting to the actual quizzy bits. Some people on the internet you know are negatively discussing something you hold dear. You could just let it slide, or you could get in there and defend it with your life. How do you respond? Ooh, interesting. So the options are I live it alone, rejoin the conversation when the topic is past, I'll stay out of it for the most part, except possibly to correct some factual errors I might notice, which could negatively influencing their view of the thing I like. That's more like me. That's more like me, because mostly arguing on the internet is pointless. Unless you know the people who are doing it, arguing on the internet is almost always pointless. It never ends well. I'll chime in with my own opinion, stating that I like the thing, but I won't really argue about it, to each their own. I jump in and defend the thing, stating why I like it and why their criticism is wrong, but I won't take it too far. I will die on a hill for the things I like. I love to argue in their defense. No, I'll probably just jump in and defend the thing. Like, I won't take it too far though. I like to think that I'm pretty measured here. You're all set to cook dinner when you realize that that you are missing a couple key ingredients from the recipe you're using. What do? So this one's probably going to be the most telling. I do not cook without a recipe because I'm bad at it. I'm not a bad cook. I'm very bad at improvising in the kitchen. It's just not something that I do. It's just not something that's in my skill set. So, toss out the recipe and completely wing it? No. Find different ingredients? No. Go to the store and get the ingredients I'm missing. Absolutely. Just because I'm terrible at improvising in the kitchen. How do you feel meeting online friends in person for the first time? Quite positive. Normally, I've done this several times. I've met people that I got to know online and then went and met them and it went great. Sometimes there's a little bit of awkwardness there. Sometimes it takes a little bit to get in the swing of things, but most of the time, if you spend an extended amount of time with somebody online, once you really start working at it, like you'll get into the swing of it the same that you do online. I guess I should technically read the other options. Good, you'll see how things go. Hard to say until you've met someone. A bit nervous. No. Anxious, no. I think that this is pretty solidly. B is my solid choice here. You're having a hard time grasping a topic in class that everyone seems fine with. You raise your hand immediately to straighten things out. You probably misheard or tuned out for a few minutes. You lean over and ask a friend. They'd probably be happy to explain it. You email the professors or attend their office hours. Attending office hours. Nope. Mainly because I'm lazy. You do research on your own. You're more than capable of figuring this out. Do some thinking and surmise that the class and professor are wrong about this topic. You still memorize answers for the test, though. So I'm actually two very different things here, depending on the circumstances. I either will raise my hand immediately to straighten things out, or I'll do research on my own. So this is interesting. I think almost always, in most situations, this is my general approach to communication issues. Just immediately trying to straighten it out, don't dance around it. However, in a classroom setting, particularly in college, I think I was more D. In a classroom setting specifically, I think I'm more likely to go and research on my own because I'm going to, not only does it make it easier to get the information on my own time, but that I think tends to build more mastery for me personally than having the professor re-explain it. Because then I have to like really verify that I understand what I'm doing. So this is a weird one where my answer here is so very different than my usual answers, but it's okay. You start taking lessons to learn something you've wanted to for a while, language class, art class, bartending lessons, etc., but decide a few weeks in that it definitely isn't your thing. You decide to stick it out though. Why? You never know, it might grow on you. You spent the money and time on this already, so you're gonna finish it. It's already on your schedule for the next couple of weeks. You don't want to move stuff around. I would love to free up my schedule. You aren't a quitter. If you dedicate yourself to something, you're going to do it. Doesn't matter how hard it is. If you stop, it means you didn't like the thing as much as you thought you did, which means you didn't know yourself the way you thought you did, which is unacceptable. That's a really weird answer. That's a really weird answer that, like, and I don't mean to shoot anybody down who would choose this answer, but like forcing yourself into something you don't like specifically out of spite for yourself because you're learning about yourself and you don't like that is such a weird take to me. Just a weird take. I'm going to say that you spend the money on this, you spend the money and time on this already, you're going to finish it. This and you aren't a quitter. If you dedicate yourself to something, you're going to do it. Doesn't matter how hard it is, are probably the closest answers. I think that the idea of finishing it and having that in your skill set is important. Because like let's say it's a bartending class. Like I decided bartending isn't for me, but if I still build up that skill set, I can use it elsewhere. Like I can use it at a party or something, even if it's not my thing that I want to do all the time. When you're on holiday, do you prefer to leave your itinerary mostly up to chance, or do you plan it out ahead? Plan a few key things, but you mostly play it by ear. So the reason why I do this one is because I've done holidays where everything is like super planned out, and it's just stressful. It's just stressful for me personally. The reason why I want to go on a vacay is because I want to relax. And I find that most of the time I end up not relaxing if I plan too much. A friend of yours and someone you don't know are caught in a heated argument. They've asked for you to help facilitate. Oh boy, this is me. You want to support your friend, but after hearing both sides, you actually agree with the stranger. How do you choose who you support? So my friends know this about me. My friends should know this about me. I spent a lot of time mediating with people in like when I was in high school, and then I kind of just quite frankly grew out of it. Not because I won't still mediate with people now, but I'm very clear on what I think in a situation. You side with your friend all the way? Absolutely not. You highlight anything about your friend's side you do agree with and tactfully don't mention the rest? Closer, I try to find middle ground where I like highlight the bright side of both points, but no, I wouldn't say I support both sides. I will acknowledge what is valid about an argument, but you delicately disagree with your friend while doing everything you to show you still support them. Absolutely. Because depending on the issue, because there are some issues that are non-negotiable, but depending on the issue, mostly it's not a big deal. Mostly it's just you disagree with your friend, and that's okay. I would say that if I fully side with a stranger in my head, I'll probably do it overtly, but I try to definitely show my friend I still support them, like just emotionally. You have a very important message to write over email or some other text communication method. It's a sensitive matter difficult to compose, possibly of an emotional or confrontational nature. When you're done writing, you're about to hit the send button. What next? You click it immediately? Absolutely not. I get super nervous. Not just yet. You give it one more read, maybe change a couple things and send it. Yeah, after giving it another read, you decide to take some time and come back to it later with fresh eyes. Absolutely not. Probably not. Well, okay, maybe have a friend read it too before sending. Yeah, that one's probably closer to me. I definitely don't sleep on it, and I definitely don't save a draft to revisit later and then agonize over it. So it's either I give it one more read and then change a couple things and then send away, or I'll go and I'll ask somebody for their take on it, somebody who's a neutral party. But actually, I think more often than not, I'll probably just make a couple revisions and move on. I think that's probably the more likely scenario. There you go. My lunar sway is Derse. I'm actually a little surprised. Derse streamers are skeptical, restless, and prone to rebellion. What? This isn't me. What? Valuing rational thought and calculation. I do that. They tend to know themselves far better than they know the world around them, finding it difficult to live in the moment. You'll learn more about what it means to be a Derse streamer when you see the final results of the test. Now you need to determine your aspect. The result of this test tells whether your aspect is breath, blood, life, doom, light, void, time, space, heart, mind, rage, or hope. Okay. And finding out your aspect is the final piece of information needed for your true sign. Sounds good to me, let's go. Think about your life as if it's a story and you're the main protagonist. Do you tend to view yourself as a lone hero who along the way meets or other supporting characters who only have a tangential relation to your personal journey? Or do you view yourself as just one hero in an ever-shifting ensemble of important protagonists? Part of an ensemble all the way. Definitely part of an ensemble because like everybody quote unquote is the protagonist of their own story. Like you're not just like you're not Vriskaing it up in the world. You know what I mean? Like you're not just going and thinking that you're the hero of the story. Like no, that's not how the world works. When you want to help people accomplish something and they don't know what they're doing, are you inclined to show them how to do it, or are you inclined to make them feel motivated and inspired to do it? I would lean towards showing them. When you want to help people accomplish something and they don't know what they're doing. This is such a vague question. Because is this meaning like a specific tiny thing, or is it meaning like a life journey thing? Lean towards showing them. If it's like a specific thing, I'll be like, yeah, I'll show you how to do it, and then you go do it. But lean towards motivating them. If it's something big, like a life change, like I'm not going to show them how to make the life change. I'm going to motivate them. This question's too vague. This question is extremely vague. So I'm going to go with lean towards motivating them, because I think that the fact that this is even an option means that it means something larger than showing them how to write a piece of code or how to do this particular like daily thing. When you're learning about a new subject or reading a fascinating story, do you feel a strong desire to know everything about it and have all your questions answered? Yes. Or are you more compelled or inspired by the feelings of mystery surrounding not knowing everything? Yes. This is not an either or question. I have a strong desire to know everything about it, which amplifies my feelings of inspiration when there's mystery that isn't solved. Like, this is a both and. This isn't an either or. My desire to know everything is what makes the mystery when things aren't explained so tantalizing. Like, so this is, let's see. This is totally fine not knowing everything. I'd rather relax. I never relax, so this is already off the table. I absolutely need to know everything. I'm obsessive about it. I'm curious. I'm going to say I'm very curious, drawn towards knowing, because I think that's more in the spirit of what I'm thinking. But having a mystery in something is a good thing. It's a good thing. It helps keep it alive in the hearts and minds of people. When you hear somebody explaining something to someone else in a way that is questionable or in a way that makes you suspect they don't fully understand the subject they're explaining, are you more inclined to teach them everything you know about the subject, or to set the record straight, or just cast doubt on the misinformation without offering much in the way of correction? No, I'll set the record straight. I'll jump right in, set the record straight on everything. You don't want to be spreading misinformation. Like, I wouldn't bother re-educating people, but I'd absolutely punch as many holes in their story as I could. That's the least productive thing. But no, I would definitely set the record straight. I definitely believe in allowing people to have the full breadth of information in their decision making. So I get really iffy when people, like on social media, for example, post blatant misinformation. It's really hard to hold myself back in times like that. If you could choose one ability, which would it be? The ability to travel to any period in history on Earth at will, past or future, or the ability to safely travel, such as on a nice ship, anywhere in the universe instantly? Oh, this is a hard one. So time travel, I'm fundamentally against, because I don't want to change things. But so we get into like how time travel works and like the rules that are around it. If we're going by Homestuck rules, I'd be creating a Doom timeline for the entire world. Like, not cool about that. But this one's too hard to choose. This one's definitely too hard to choose, because I think time travel is dangerous. Like, fundamentally one of the most dangerous, like, superpowers. There's a lot of things that go into. I can make an entire video talking about why I think time travel is the most dangerous superpower to have for moral reasons. But I'm gonna say too hard to choose here, because man, being able to go and see like any historical period would be so cool, and also going in anywhere in the universe would be super cool. But I don't know how much is worth seeing out there besides, you know, the beauty of space, which is in and of itself amazing. But then if you're going through space travel, if you are going at like super fast travel, everybody you know and love dies while you're traveling. So I'm gonna say too hard to choose. If you're working on a project, something you're doing for yourself, not for anyone else, are you obsessively focused on the end result of the project, or Are you enjoying the process, regardless of how it turns out? Result is very important, but I would like to enjoy it along the way too. So this is an interesting one. This is an interesting one for me because I am very outcome oriented, in general. And that's why I think I evaluate a lot of my stuff kind of harshly, both in my work, in my YouTube videos, and it's kind of led to a little bit of a paralysis in like how to make new content, because I'm very I want to make something that is good, and I derive enjoyment from making things that are good, and the process is fun. The process is not any less fun. Except for in the kind of the inception process of trying to figure out what I want to create, and that can be really stressful. But I think like the process, once I start rolling into it, once I start actually doing it, is fun no matter what it is. So I like to focus on the result, if that makes sense. That was a little convoluted way of dancing around it, but I think in my head, I would really like to focus on creating things that are good, and I think I enjoy the process along the way that way. Which option best describes what's more important to you? Understanding yourself and fully knowing who you are, or thinking rationally and making strong decisions? Definitely understanding leaning toward understanding myself. So this is an interesting one. Again, it's creating this kind of false dichotomy, and I think intentionally, because it needs to in order to like find out how you lean. But I think you need to understand yourself in order to think rationally about things. Because if you don't have an understanding of yourself, you can't really make decisions that take what you want and what you actually think about things into account properly. Because rationality doesn't exist in a vacuum. It just doesn't. There are motivations for people that have to be taken into account. And so this idea of thinking rationally, which is a very vague term, I think is only empowered by understanding yourself. What idea is more interesting to you? The ability to fully understand your potential as a person, or the ability to fully understand all potential consequences of your actions before taking them? Absolutely want to understand my personal potential, no question. This sounds so boring. The ability to fully understand all potential consequences of your actions before taking them. It sounds so boring. Can you imagine how paralyzing that would be to know every possible consequence? Like, you'd think that it would open it up. You'd be like, oh, there's an optimal path. But life is not made of optimal paths. Life is made of trade-offs, pluses and minuses, pros and cons. There is no best way in like 90% of things. Okay, that's a bit of an exaggeration. You get into things like games and there's usually optimal paths. But for things that when you're creating something, or when you're working on something, or trying to, like even in something that's like developing software or making art, like the best isn't something that exists as an ideal. So understanding your personal potential, I think, is going to be a lot more beneficial in the long run than the paralyzing consequences of this latter choice. Which better describes your attitude? Having great conviction in certain beliefs or ideas you're attracted to, or casting strong doubt on beliefs or ideas you dislike? Interesting positivity versus negativity here. Definitely having convictions I believe in, or in beliefs I like. I have a lot of conviction, and I mean, I definitely cast doubts on beliefs that I dislike. I won't say that I don't do that, but I definitely think that I have strong conviction in the beliefs that I am attracted to. So I don't know what else to say there. That's an some of these questions are very interesting in the way that they're described. When circumstances are intolerably bad, which are you more inclined to do? Come up with the best alternatives or solutions and work as hard as you can to make those happen instead, or don't worry about a better alternative, burn it all down, and whatever follows, you just deal with it as it comes. I'm inclined to have a solution first in most cases. I'm definitely falling in the middle of the road for some of these because life is pretty complicated. Like, life has complicated problems that require complicated solutions. Oftentimes these like far extremes just aren't objectively not objectively, but they just usually aren't applicable in my mind. So I'm inclined to have a solution first, but not absolutely. If you see someone suffering, are you more inclined to do whatever you can to help them get better, or is your instinct to relate to their suffering, to empathize without necessarily considering how you can help? This is actually a very interesting question. Some of these questions have been kind of but this one is actually genuinely interesting. Do you try to empathize with them, letting them know that they are not alone, or do you try to help them, presumably with their physical, with their, like, they're not, maybe not their physical needs, but because it could be an emotional issue, but do you try to attack the source of their issue, or make them feel that, or try to help them feel that they're not alone? This is very interesting. See, my first impulse would be to empathize with their suffering, but after that, I'd probably try to figure out what I could do to help. I think that's probably the closest to me. I think that's probably the closest to what I would do, because I probably want to talk with them and empathize with them and try to relate to their problem. That's just, I think, the closest one to how I tend to approach these situations. When someone suffers misfortune so terrible that you know there is nothing anyone can do for them, are you most inclined to feel horrible that nothing can be done, or feel resigned to the sense that this is just the way of the world and some things can't be helped? I think that I am particularly stoic about these kinds of things. Like, I don't think I would tell them that this is just the way the world works. Sometimes maybe it depends on how terrible it is, but likely would feel somewhat resigned right away, might briefly consider how to help, but no, it's not realistic. Sure. Actually, this is bad. Would feel so bad that there's nothing that can be done, would probably accept that there's no way to help, though. Yeah, this is probably more accurate, because, like, it is a bad feeling knowing that sometimes shit just happens. The world turns and people are fucked over by it. That just happens, and it sucks, and it's okay to feel that it sucks. It's okay to feel that way, even if it's inevitable that it happens like that sometimes. But I tend to personally, when these things happen, if there are things that are out of my control, I try to be a bit more stoic about it. Not everybody's like that, but I think that, yeah, I would probably accept that there's no way to help, though, if there's just, like, I think that this might be a narrow definition of no way to help. You can help people emotionally through these things. And if you can't help them with, like, whatever physical thing has happened to them, you can help people emotionally, and that's free. That's free as far as, like, money and in possessions. It does take time, and it does take awareness, and it does take effort, but that's something that you can do even when these terrible things happen. And sometimes it can be stressful, but that's not something that you can do even in these situations. My aspect is light. Interesting. The Lightbound possess a keen desire to learn and synthesize. They are ravenous for knowledge and will go to great lengths to gain it. Although their convictions are strong, their morality is decidedly gray. You will learn about what it means to be Lightbound when you see the final results of this test. Let's reveal my true sign. My true sign is Scorpia, sign of the Emperor. So I have blue sign, which is decided entirely by my Zodiac, I guess. And I have Derse plus light. So your true sign is Scorpia. That you possess the unique combination held by all blue signs, Derse Dreamers, and Lightbound. Let's not mince words. Blue signs are the ones to watch. Of all the signs classes, they have the potential to do the most good, but also cause the worst harm. They can be incredibly effective and also incredibly destructive. Tell a blue sign this and your chances are that they would agree with you. They are magnetic and adaptive, able to adjust how they present themselves in any situation. They have a mask for every occasion. They are obsessively dedicated, willing to throw themselves into work, play, and everything in between. Okay, this is actually painfully accurate. I know I just chose based on, like, my Zodiac, but this is actually very accurate. Because of this, blue signs are highly valuable as allies and friends. Booyah. However, they are very selective when it comes to who they let into their inner circle. You can be best friends with a blue sign and still never truly know them. They are powerful and successful, but they also tend towards jealousy. They often resent those that they see as more well-positioned than they are. A well-adjusted blue sign is fantastically competent and inspiring, but a blue sign at their worst is a force of chaos. In love, they can find themselves having to choose between their ambitions and their relationships, often with great difficulty. Yikes. Yikes. So I'll break these down as we go. This one's pretty spot on. The blue sign, I know I just chose it based on my Zodiac, my birth Zodiac, but this one's pretty spot on. I actually see a lot of myself in this description, and to be fair, I think most of these horoscope-esque things are vague enough that you could find yourself in a lot of them, but this one does seem particularly accurate for me, which is a little scary, because blue sign can go very bad, but you know what, let's just say I'm a good one and move along. Derse dreamers have personalities marked by a distinct and restless skepticism. Whatever their waking circumstances, chances are they will live in a state of dissatisfaction. Rebellion is in their blood, manifesting whether they are fighting back against a fascist dictatorship or the most recent trend in casual footwear. Derse dreamers are cerebral and self-aware. They have a far better grasp on the landscape of their own minds and on the world around them, which they can find alienating and confusing. But as so much of their identity is built on control, they will do their utmost to hide any insecurities, often with false humility or self-deprecating humor. They may be inflexible and pessimistic, but they are also great problem solvers, facing conflicts head-on with shrewd, calculating minds. They see one true path among an infinite snarl of wrong ones. I definitely literally said that this was not the case like 90% of the time, but that's okay. They tend to be introverted, but if you win their heart, or if you win their trust, Derse dreamers are extremely powerful allies. However, they find sincere vulnerability difficult, not true for me, and will often keep people at arm's length. Letting go and living in the moment is hard for a Derse dreamer. They constantly look towards the future and analyze the past. That one is accurate. Living in the moment is hard for a Derse dreamer. That one is actually accurate for me. I literally am always trying to figure out what to do next or trying to figure out what I did wrong in the past, because I feel like that will influence what I do in the future. There's a lot of this lunar sway for Derse that I disagree with for me, that I just don't think is accurate, but there's also some of it that is. So I'm curious to see how I would have leveled out with Prospit. I don't think I fall cleanly into Prospit or Derse based on this criteria. I actually think I probably am a little bit more Prospit, but you know what? The quiz says what the quiz says, and sometimes it'd be like that. Aspect Light. Those bound to the aspect of light are the universe's knowledge seekers. They are, above all, driven to learn and understand. They are great alchemists, able to take multiple sources of information and synthesize them into something useful. They are scholars and researchers absolutely dedicated to knowledge for knowledge's sake. They are ultimate students, although that might conjure up the image of people sitting around peacefully waiting for knowledge to be brought to them, but that couldn't be further from the truth. The lightbound, will go after knowledge with a fierce intensity that others find distasteful. They aren't overly concerned with the laws or norms either. They often take rules as simple suggestions instead of searching for loopholes or workarounds. At their best, the lightbound are resourceful and driven. At their worst, they can be fussy, pedantic, and insensitive. I can definitely be fussy and pedantic. I like to think I'm not insensitive, but who knows? This is a weird one. I honestly was expecting to get blood for my aspect. I think that I'm actually probably closer aligned to blood than most things, but maybe I'm crazy. But this was an interesting one to get, and I guess this is it. This was it. This is the end of it. I got Scorpia, the sign of the Emperor, which means I rule all over you now, so you should like and subscribe because I am your Emperor. Bow before my blue throne. But guys, seriously, thank you for watching. This was really fun. I disagree with some of the results. Some of them were spot on. Very different result than I expected, honestly. But guys, what is your extended Zodiac sign? What is your true sign? Leave it down in the comments below, and maybe a little blurb about how accurate you think that is. But this was cool. This was definitely cool. But I will catch you guys in the next video. You can check out my actual Homestuck read-through over here on the right, or something else over here on the left for you. But I will catch you guys later. Thalion out!